Hi everyone, it's Sam, NFT Statistics with your Proof Daily NFT Countdown. I'm excited. I got my microphone working again. Sound should be a little bit better. A lot to talk about. Always a lot to talk about in NFTs, but here we go. We'll start with a quick market overview. Volume's a little bit soft, still in that 15,000 ETH range that we've been in for the past 5 days or so. A lot of market share on Blur yesterday, 44% versus about 40% on OpenSea. Floor price is down a touch. A couple things on that. First of all, obviously, if you look at this exact same chart from ETH terms into US dollar terms, we're strong. ETH had a big rip yesterday, so in US dollar terms, we're doing strong. Why was it down in ETH terms, though? A lot of it had to do with Doodle Set. Now, one thing to know, when I say set, what I refer to is the original NFT plus every airdrop that's been given to those holders for free. In this case, duplicators were really the source of weakness. Duplicators have gone from 1.5 ETH 4 days ago to about 0.4 ETH. So a lot of weakness there following duplication. The mid caps were up a touch. That strength was driven by Pudgy Penguins, Potatoes, and Fluff. All had pretty strong days. In art blocks, we had about 7 sets that did 10 ETH or more of volume. Wavyscape was the most recent curated drop, happened yesterday. We'll talk more about that later. Also saw strong volumes in Chromie Squiggles and again in the Harvest. One thing I want to call out is VV Checks. The floor right now is at about 1 ETH. It's up over 185x in just 3.5 weeks. If you look at the serial numbers 1 through 100, those numbers have a floor of around 4 ETH. So this project completely on fire. In ETH terms, up about 30% over just the past couple of days. Market cap is now $24 million on this project. Second thing to talk about is Hoodie Punks. There were 3 Hoodie Punk sales yesterday, 314, 288, and 240 ETH. Now, there's a lot of areas regarding these trades that I feel like I could dive down into. One of the things I think is interesting is that Hoodie Punks are one of the most valuable traits, but they're actually not all that rare. What this chart here looks at is it arranges every single trait in order of rarity. And you can see that Hoodie Punks are really right there in the middle. But if you look at those blue bar charts, that shows what the floor price is. And Hoodie Punks in terms of human traits is actually the second most valuable trait, only behind the Beanie, which is very, very rare, only 44 of them. The other kind of not so rare trait that trades often at a premium is 3D glasses, even less rare than Hoodie Punks, and a floor of around 120 ETH in terms of punk terms. I think that this speaks to a principle, which is that rarity is very important in NFTs, but culture also matters as well. There's a huge kind of culture in-group feeling with those hoodies, and they trade at a massive premium as a result. The other interesting thing about the top sale, that 317 ETH sale, is that the seller has this OpenSea account called Old School Collection. This is a seller named Seth S. And when you dig into his wallet, this seller has probably the best punk collection I've ever seen in my life. He very recently took a bunch of different wallets, assembled them together, and put them all into this wallet. Some of the standouts, obviously an Alien Punk, there are only 11 of them. 2 8 punks, including a cowboy hat, 3D glasses. Absolutely crazy collection, who only recently has started coming a little bit out of the woodworks here. There was a tweet thread by Leonidas.org, Leonidas NFT, where he talked about this, how this new account, the name is Seth S, was coming together, bringing these wallets, also was minting or unwrapping or wrapping a lot of the V1 punks. So we've seen some supply increase in V1 punks because of this wallet. Now, one of the interesting things about punks is that there are fewer unique owners than almost any other 10,000 PFP collection. They were given away for free. There were a few whales like this guy that both minted some and then bought a ton. And it can be a strength and a weakness for punks. It means a lot of punks are just held in wallets. But when these sellers come out, there's a little bit more activity. Third story to talk about is Lucrece. Lucrece provided an update. As we know, Lucrece has been very successful with his open edition and then gamification. The first phase involved taking the blue NFT, that was the open edition, and being able to burn that into one of the 8 other colors. We just found out what the second phase is going to be, and it's a generative one-of-one mint piece that everybody who owns the entire collection is going to be able to get. Okay, so in order to do this, you have to own all 8 colors. Now, there are 906 possible full 8 collections, and 373 wallets have them right now. So most of the people who've been collecting are in everything. and buying up all the different NFTs. Just some of the details I mentioned. It's a generative mint. It's going to include different rarities, so you can get lucky and get, a one of one, a unique one. Only people with full sets can get it. The snapshot of who gets access to the mint is being taken today. And then Lucrece was very clear that there's more to come. This isn't the end. There's going to be phase 3. There'll probably be more. So interesting to see how that goes. Now, how have the prices responded? What you can see here is that we really peaked about 4 days ago. And since then, the overall market cap of this collection is down about 35%. Something we've seen in a couple of these open editions is that when the announcements actually happen, the news and the rally has happened as well, and people start getting to selling. So it will be interesting to see how this plays out. I think Lucrece has done an incredible job keeping anticipation high. As I say, anticipation is the oxygen of NFTs. There's alpha in identifying when that anticipation is going to happen. But now that there's a little bit of that over, there's a little bit of deflation around it. The other thing I'd say is that there is value in gamification. I mean, Lucrece has turned this single NFT into a 4,000 ETH market cap that's well above his original collection, The Monsters, which has around a 1,200 ETH market cap. So, doing an incredible job keeping this interesting. Obviously, people know they're going to be getting a unique piece from him, so that probably explains some of that performance. Fourth story, Artblock's curated Wavyscape drops. I like to talk about every curated drop because they aren't that frequent. You get maybe one curated drop, which is selected by the Artblocks board, which happens every single, mainly every month, but there isn't an official cadence to it. Obviously, a lot of focus on it because the Harvest, which was the last one, was so successful. Here is a little bit of the art. The artist's name is Holger Lippmann. He is a German generative artist who's been doing generative art for many decades. Here's some work of his from the late 1990s. Here's a piece of his from 2015. What he said about this is that he wanted to do something really nature-oriented, make something reminiscent of hilly landscapes, washed out stone, driftwood, endlessly forming cloud banks. Kind of an interesting approach to it. As far as the numbers go, there were 315 mints. The median price was 1.28 ETH. Top sale was 3 ETH, but the current floor is 0.8 ETH. So, the floor has really fallen since that original mint, down about 35%. So, I think maybe what happened here is people were excited to mint after the Harvest, but it didn't get quite the uptake that we saw last time. We know that Artblock's mints have a lot of bots, so a lot of those bots perhaps wanted to get out. There were 2 sales at 2.5 ETH or higher. The highest sale was this monochrome one. Monochrome seems to be kind of a desired trait because it's often rare. And then this color one is all color and a pretty unique output. Last thing to talk about is notable sales. One I wanted to talk about, going back to that hoodie punk theme, and this wasn't a straight up purchase. This was a trade, but kind of a crazy trade. A hoodie punk and a black suit ape in exchange for a 4-trait ape, a spacesuit ape, and 240 ETH on top of it. There is too much math to do, too much trait analysis to do for us to spend it on this call right now, but have a look at what you think. I think this was a pretty interesting trade between EB7 and Sen on one side and Bat and Brad on the other. The second sale to talk about is this 27 ETH sale by Pindar Van Arman. This was the most expensive sale on Super Rare of the day. Pindar Van Arman worked with AI as well as robotics to create art. This piece actually, there's a personality apparently to this piece. He worked with David Usher to create AI personalities for the artwork. The artwork has a lot of animation and was created by observing a quantum computer and atoms in a quantum computer. So a whole lot that is way over my head, but still pretty interesting stuff in this piece. Now, Pindar Van Arman just wanted to explain a little bit more about his work. He does a lot of work with robotics and AI, where he actually trains robots to do paintings and pieces in real life. A couple of his biggest sales, you can see over 100 ETH for one. That piece in the upper left is called Self-Portrait. It's the robot actually painting itself. And other sales, 80 ETH, many in the 20 range. And then in the lower right here, Pindar was the first artist for the super rare Genesis Pass. Everyone got one piece of his work. It's a 1 out of 250 set collection. And the floor on that project is 4.6 ETH. So congrats on this sale. Really interesting artist and exciting to see. Another cool sale here, 13.2 ETH, Sweep the Floor by Bongdo, another animated piece. We've talked about Bongdo before, glitch piece, pretty cool to see. The last piece that was sold last week on Super Rare was at 14, but still can't complain about a 13.2 ETH sale. And then I'm going to talk about OXDGB one more time, just because I think OXDGB is doing great things, connecting with collectors, making his art customizable so that it actually fits the different collectors. Another swap here. He traded this one-of-one piece for a Chromie Squiggle with Derek Edwards. Chromie Squiggles, floor around 14 ETH right now. So clearly a valuable trade. Very, very cool to see. You can see Derek's punk right there. That's all for today. That's all for me. Are you an artist? One thing I love about this show is I get to kind of combine PFPs as well with kind of the art world. And I love highlighting artists that have cool sales or doing cool things. If you are an artist, have interesting stuff to see, feel free to hit my DMs. Always curious, always interested in talking to folks. That's all for today. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a good day.